Hey everyone, this is Pan Ban Richard presenting to you AC Radio at www.abyssalchronicles.com, where Tales is our life. This episode's for Sunday, June 3rd, 2018, where we cover Tales of Festival 2018 speculations. I'm joined here by Dimension Slip, who is also of abyssalchronicles.com, where she handles news and content writing as well. Right now we're going to be focusing on our speculations for Tales of Festival 2018, and the biggest one that we're all looking forward to is the major news speculations. Because last year for 2017, they kind of just left us hanging a little bit, which was very odd compared to previous years, where they would at least either have some news for the next game that they're working on, or they would reveal something for the future of the franchise. With regards to that, for the major game announcement, what comes to mind with the future of the series for you, Slip, out of curiosity?
Um, in the future, I think it's supposed to be a game announcement because there's no other way to go forward. Because last last year you talked about no game announcements. Yeah, the atmosphere last festival was so different. Like after it finished, you could tell the people were expecting something, but their expectations weren't really met in some sense of the word.
Right, and you were there last year as well. Like, how often have you gone to Tales of Festivals out of curiosity? Like, when did you start going to them?
Actually, last year was my second. I started going here to the festivals when I got here in Japan. So I've been living here for about 2 years. Not too long, not too short, but yeah. But I've been like keeping up with the news, coincidentally on the Bristol Chronicles too before I joined up.
Right, right, right.
So yeah, yeah.
So, based on your experience last year compared to the year before, you could tell that there was a bit of an odd deflation with regards to there not being a forward movement with regards to the main franchise, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It, you could tell everyone was really expecting some sort of news, especially in the last day, and then they just ended it after a few mobile game announcements and stuff. It was very underwhelming. But this Tales of Festival, I guess the expectations kind of renewed because there's a lot of interesting choices to say the least of it, like for the guests.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, man, like I can't remember like the last time we've had this much representation for Tales of Legendia because I think I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, Legendia, and actually also Abyss, but that's kind of my bias. But anyway, definitely Legendia. There was there's a lot of Legendia people. You can't help but think something's up or something because it's not even Legendia's anniversary.
No, it's not.
Yeah, because yeah, so it's an interesting choice. So I wonder if there's something up with that, or they just wanted to do that for the heck of it.
It's just really hard to like get a read on Bandai Namco right now because I mean I remember that one year where it was just Suzuken, they like to nickname him, the voice actor for Senno, the Japanese voice actor. One year when he was talking about how Legendia doesn't get much recognition, all of a sudden the fan and the crowd just reacts uproariously for like, we want a Legendia remake or something like that. They just like cheered when Senno brought that up, like Senno's voice actor brought that up, and it was just like I wondered if Bandai Namco actually listened to the crowd that one year. I think it was 2015. I could be wrong, but yeah, I wonder if they actually listened to that and if they'll actually move forward with the Legendia remake. Because now this is my bias sort of like slipping up a little bit because essentially Legendia's narrative is probably one of my favorites, probably the most favorite for myself with regards to the franchise. And the only things like I play it every now and then and I always get absorbed into it, and the only things that really come to mind is that if only they tweak the battle system a little bit, or if they tweak like the random encounter rate, or the movement speed in the field, then things would be like much better for it to come out as a packaged release for like a remake, because I feel like Legendia would definitely benefit off of that, especially in the year, especially this year, considering how like previously when it was released, it sort of had to compete with Abyss at the time, and we all know that Abyss definitely won that battle.
Yeah, it was a really weird thing, but I think Legendia can also benefit from a remake because based on what I've watched of it of some playthroughs on YouTube, the story is really interesting, and I love Senel actually. He's like I guess really high up in my list of favorite Tales protagonists because yeah, he did that brooding thing quite well. His development was really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely agree as well. Sentinel's development and growth throughout the game is probably one of my favorite, probably better than a majority of the characters. I feel I personally liked Sentinel's development more than Reed's, and I thought Reed's was very solid as well, considering his growth through the story. But yeah, honestly, the fact that you're hearing both of us praise it is more incentive to kind of hope for that Legendia remake, considering how much people have overlooked it because of it competing with Abyss at the time, and how 3D was still sort of like new and hip and in at the time. That when they were going back to 2D, some people were like, "Oh, it's just 2D. I don't know if I want to go back to that." So, essentially, it would be some very good timing for Legendia to get a remake, and we'll probably dedicate more to the narrative another time. So just consider that a bit of a teaser right there.
Hmm hmm Yeah. I mean, on my end, I personally hope for an Abyss HD remake, but I would also love a Legendia remake. So I don't know, whichever they choose would be something of a win-win for me if they are weighing those two things or whatever.
Yeah. The thing is, though, we've had the question of the week on social media, and we're like seeing what speculations that people had for Tales of Festival, and when it comes to that, there were people who are requesting for a new mothership or the Switch title, but besides those two, um, because it's a certain anniversary for a particular game that I'm pretty sure we're all very much well aware of.
Oh,
Tales of
yes.
Vesperia, yeah. Tales of Vesperia's 10th anniversary, and we all know how much of an impact that game has, and the amount of responses because of that, they're much more prominent in the social media question. So there were so many people wishing for a Vesper. I used to call it Vespiestria, but now it's Vesper 4. I can't even pronounce it properly. Vesperia on the PS4, basically. No nickname for that, but yeah. Considering the current direction right now, based on what we're seeing with the cast list, I believe there are like, if I recall correctly, there are three representatives from Vesperia who are present there. I think it's Yuri's voice actor, and I think Rita is there as well. I can't remember who the third is, but um,
I think Raven.
yes, there we go. So Raven as well. So essentially, if they were to release a Vesperia remake announcement for Tales of Festival, I can see that being a very safe choice because Bandai Namco is very much well aware as to the demand for a Vesperia remake, because it's not just the what they see in social media, and we all know the joke about not that one, but I'm pretty sure that everybody, yeah, like the fact
Yeah.
that they even, yeah, exactly, the fact that they even acknowledge that, like compared to other requests and whatnot, means that they're aware. So please don't take that negatively, Vesperia fans. Just take it as uh, a sort of sign that Bandai Namco is very much well aware of your request, and we'll just see what happens in the future. Like, I have no idea, obviously, but, just take it like a grain of salt.
Oh, yeah. Yes, Vesperia would be also a safe choice because it's very timely. Like right now, I'm starting to feel it's really Vesperia's anniversary. At least looking at the merchandise they're releasing, I mean, they really
Yeah,
are
yeah.
gearing up with, hey, just a Vesperia only set, like the acrylics they announced recently. So that's one thing. And the Tales of Festival listing, there's also this dolls, I think, that has I think you can buy the Vesperia cast's clothes and switch them out or something. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, there are a ton of merchandise coming out. Man, they're like releasing more and more merch about the franchise in this year's festival, I find. But we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, whether it's like a Vesperia or a Legendia remake, I think either of those would be a nice push to see with the franchise, more or less.
Hmm. I agree.
So, with regards to that as well, considering that we've talked about remasters or ports of the sort, one thing that also comes to mind, like, what if they announce a new game, like an entirely new Mothership title at the event? And some things that sort of come to mind, like, I posed this question on Abyssal Chronicles social media about, like, because I've noticed that with the battle system, there seems to be like two camps. You either like chain capacity, which I accidentally called assault capacity, whatever it's called in Exilia, and the TP system. And I kind of wondered, like, what if there was like what if there was like a means to sort of like have the two split up essentially, like have like easy access to change the game's battle system from TP to the chain capacity system. And when I posed that question, like many people didn't really seem to be kosher about that. They either wanted one or the other, or it'd be a bit too taxing for the game design, the whole engine
Oh
of the game.
yes, because right now when you just talked about it, mixing those two, I kind of got more flashbacks for sense. 'Cause, um, yeah, I was thinking how difficult it would be to develop that kind of thing if you can just switch out two battle systems. It's because developing just one battle system seems to be quite tricky in itself already. So having two pretty heavy systems um, in one game would be very tricky to say the least of it.
Yeah, and I was sort of like just posing that question because it kind of just popped up because I've always noticed when communities would discuss the battle systems, there's always going to be like one camp or the other. You either like chain capacity or you like TP, and I was like thinking
Oh
about like
yeah.
that. Yeah, like that one little
Mhm.
girl was like, why not both? But then, considering how much resources that would be required, because you're also studying game development too, correct?
No, I am actually in game development now, so
Right, you're sorry, you are in game development. My apologies, but yes. So like you have a lot of awareness with regards to what comes into um the whole building process of the game. So with regards to that as well, it's just it's I suppose it would have been nice at the end of the day, like ideally, but the resources might be a bit too much.
mhm. Yeah, it would be very complicated, and I'm just imagining like all the debugging you'll have to do for that seems really would be very crazy. So yes, it's gonna be that debate's gonna continue for a while. Uh, yeah, I personally, I'm not married to any of the systems personally. Like both of them have their good points and bad points, and I just enjoy both because most of the time I tend to look more at the narrative or the characters rather than the battle system. Like all the an enjoyable battle system is also important because the players would be playing that thing for most of the time. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was kind of like, it kind of came to mind because, like, for myself personally, I know that there are people who enjoy the chain capacity system, but for myself, I'm not particularly a fan of it, but I can see the people who do enjoy it. I just feel as though they kind of have some odd limitations with it, which I can also see for the TP side as well, where it's like, oh, if you overexhaust yourself, you won't be able to use any more. But I would save that discussion for another time. But basically, with regards to the capacity system, I did have a lot of fun with it. I felt with Berseria because I'm currently in the middle of that
Yeah.
playthrough right now, and apparently I'm like 50% through Act 2, and it's just, I felt like they kind of did the whole chain capacity system well in a 3D game with Berseria. So, if that's their performance with that game, I would definitely be open to see what would happen next for the future of that particular style of gameplay for the linear motion battle system.
Oh, definitely. If they do make new Mothership title, I would like to see more of Berseria's gameplay. Personally, I haven't played much of Berseria. I just again watched it through YouTube, but I did go to a friend's place one time and ended up playing Berseria for about several hours. I really enjoyed the battle system for that game.
Yeah, and there's just so much uniqueness to the attributes for the characters. It incentivizes you to play as the other characters because they all have different attributes that contribute to to combat. So when you have like Velvet is the most broken out of the cast, let's be honest,
Yeah.
because her you like oh my goodness, like I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent here, but I don't know why the AI of that game, despite like the constant adjustments that I've done to the strategy, doesn't seem to get the fact that all you need to do with Velvet is just spam her break soul and then you're gonna be good. Like it feels like she's like the guy of the entire party, like if we're relating to Tales of the Abyss. So with regards to Guy's place, I feel like because of how overpowered Guy is, it's kind of similar to how like Velvet is with the Berseria cast, but everybody else
Oh,
is like very competent as well. Like Rokuro is fun to mess around with his counters. So because like it's kind of like how the R games on the Vita handled. Like you have to press the guard button at the right time to counter, but instead it's a break soul. So that's a lot of fun with Rokuro, and Eleanor has her whole like aerial arts, which are fun to sort of like explore as well. I still didn't get to explore with her second break soul yet, but I'm going to get to that eventually. And then we also have Aizen with his whole like just like brawler type arts that are like akin to characters like Farah, like Fennel,
oh
like
yeah.
Regal. Like plus he has this whole break soul where he like OTGs them when they're stunned or something along those lines. It's just there is so much capabilities and attributes that you explore around with the party members that I really hope that they maintain that mantra for the next Tales of title because it just gives you more incentive to play as those characters.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and to even go like I'm gonna go more on a bit of a tangent regarding battle systems, but I feel as though for Exilia 2, despite my gripes with regards to the Chromatis, I felt that one thing that he did very well was Ludger's style of gameplay because he can switch between three different playstyles within one character like seamlessly, and that's why I kind of had the idea of like the whole TP and chain capacity switch, but then I could like see it being development wise being a bit of a debugging hell as you mentioned.
Yes.
But basically I would like to sort of see like Ludger's battle shifting mechanic appear for other characters in future Mothership titles, but it was just so much fun exploring the amount of like combinations that you could like obtain by switching from the gun to the huge lance to the dual wielding swords. There's just so much variety with how you can like complete a battle.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, Luger was pretty well broken. I guess everyone agrees on that. But yeah, he was very fun to play. Actually, Tales of Exilia 2 is kind of a guilty pleasure for me. But yeah, he was very. I mean, you're pretty stuck using him, but it's nice that at least the person you're stuck with has this much versatility and potential. So I guess it's not too bad in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and my only thing to that is that like because Exilia 2 was developed as a sequel, they kind of just like sort of like pasted the assets from the first game and created Luger as an entirely new character. So that's why he doesn't really mesh well with the party, I sort of find. But if they built a game from the ground up with every character having like Luger's sort of mentality and design asset for his abilities, then I feel as though that would come to a very fun experience for players to explore.
Because in that game, you're like pretty much forced to use Luger, but and other characters are kind of left behind in that sense. So if they made some sort of incentive to use the other characters, that would have been nice.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of hope like there would be a feature like that in the future. But battle system and gameplay aside, out of curiosity, for the next Tales of Mothership title, are there any narrative wishes that sort of come to mind for you, Slip? Out of curiosity.
On my end, nothing really, because I'm more of on the surprise me camp, because at least narrative styles, I think they have the potential, the series in general, the Tales of series in general, has the potential to make anything work. I feel like, as long as they really put a good amount of thought and development into it. Like, although I guess if they lean towards more family type of things in the same manner as Berseria, that would probably be nice, because they really do that well.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that front because um, one thing that I'm noticing with my playthrough of Berseria, for those who are curious, I think I just encountered Kamoana in my playthrough just to sort of like keep it on the DL with regards to spoilers. But generally, I do enjoy the dynamic that Velvet and Laphicet have, like her sort of like putting her focus on her little brother. And the thing is, like, I was kind of expecting, like, so far, I'm kind of expecting, like, Berseria to be like, oh, now Velvet's just going to be, like, solemn, stoic for the rest of the narrative with regards to just focusing on killing Artorias. But then there are moments in the game that sort of, like, um, allow you, the player, to remind yourself that she's still that girl from the very beginning and still has that care for her little brother. And I I don't think they've ever explored that far before with the franchise with regards to families. So to see them go that route is very nice to see, and it would be nice to see them maybe explore it a little bit further in another game as well.
Hmm. I really agree on that, because that was one of my favorite parts about Berseria. Like, seeing those bits of Velvet, like, yeah, she wants people to think she's, cold, stoic, and most of the time that's what she tries to project. But you see those little moments, as you said, where the way she was when she was younger hasn't completely disappeared.
Exactly. And to even go further into that, like I'm thinking about other siblings in the franchise. I didn't play through Tales of Hearts R yet, but from what I understand, like Hisui and Kohaku sort of have that kind of I guess it's like very overprotective older brother sort of spiel, which
Yes,
is what I understood.
it's more stereotypical, I feel like.
Yeah.
um Kohaku and Hisui's relationship, because yeah, Hisui is like the overprotective older brother, and Kohaku's like, oh, I don't need to be protected in that kind of type of sense, because yeah. Speaking of sibling relationships, yeah, because I feel they haven't gone gone that far, because we do have siblings that are in the party, like, Rain and Genius.
Yeah. Rain and
Yeah.
Genius are solid as well, and of course we all know about the one in Fantasia with Chester and Ami, and it's
Oh.
intriguing. Yeah, yeah. Uh, that's the one that everybody remembers. That's for sure. Um, but it's intriguing that you bring up the whole stereotypical older brother thing because I felt as though with when I was playing through Radiant Mythology 1 to sort of like get some footage for my Tales of Recollections on Twitter. And I got to a point where Chester was sort of having that relationship as well with Konono. And it was intriguing because it's like a sort of like a interesting scenario where it's like you get to explore more about like Chester's older brother attributes, and because of what you said about Hisui being like a stereotypical kind of older brother, it kind of sort of like reminds me of that with Chester in a sense.
I haven't actually played much through Fantasia. Like my main exposure to it is crossover games, to be honest. But yeah, I've heard a little about that, so yeah, I'll take your word for it in that regard.
So, something else about the narrative that I would like them to explore because it feels like recently, like with regards to titles like Exilia, Exilia 2, Zestiria, and Berseria, they tend to be focusing on spirits and supernatural like beings in a sense. And it's been like that sort of like platform for the past 7 years. And I kind of want, like, I get that it is a thing with like previous games as well, but I kind of want them to have more exploration with regards to the different sort of themes and settings. And one game that comes to mind is Tales of Innocence because that game had like a sort of like setting where it was set in a bit of a steampunk era, and it was nice to sort of see how like they still have their supernatural beings but not really if you kind of like look into the narrative a bit further, but it was nice to sort of like see tales of sort of explore those type of different settings, and I kind of like to see them go that direction again. Like maybe take it. Well, they kind of did with pirates. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Zestiria was a bit more of like the Arthurian style, Arthurian era with
Uh-huh.
medieval themes. So that was also I'll take back that statement. Like they did explore a bit with Zestiria with regards to that. But I like to see them try to like dive into more eras again. Like say maybe we could see a bit of a Celtic theme, or maybe or that's a bit of a reach there. But you know, I like to see them like maybe post-apocalyptic or something along those lines. Like I want to see them branch out again, like for styles that are similar to how Zestiria setting was or Innocence setting was.
hmm Yeah, that all sounds interesting. I actually haven't finished Innocence, but hmm, yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I guess going on forward because thinking about the characters that they've all produced so far, there's been a wide variety of characters that have been covered throughout the series. Well, I mean, expected for a game that's like already celebrated its 25th anniversary a year ago, but I I guess like when it comes to the characters, I do want to see them push more female leads because it does allow for some more exploration with regards to the narrative as to this can happen or that can happen because it's like they've always focused on male leads most of the time. It would be nice to see some more um, leads that are or actually even like even further with regards to the whole like different genders and whatnot as well, different attributes as well, to sort of like push on forward with that because it allows for exploration. And it'd be nice to see Tales of like tackle those themes, but at the same time it is also well, I don't know, we'll just see what happens. Like that's something I would also like to see as well.
Oh, I agree too because they really did a good job with Velvet. I would like to see more of that too in future games.
Yeah. What exactly did you see with Velvet out of curiosity that enticed you without going too much into spoilers?
I think basically it's her complexity as a character, because but it would kind of require going into spoilers. But the level of complexity she had was really nice, and yeah, I think I would leave it at that probably.
All right, we'll save for like an eventual Berseria spoilers topic in the future, most likely.
Yeah.
All right. So with that in mind as well, I guess that pretty much like covers a lot of like our speculations with regards to major news announcements. It'll most likely be for the Switch or Steam because I find that Bandai Namco in Japan for the PC releases, they're being very much more open to that. I still can't get over the fact that we got an announcement for a console in the Tales of franchise first in North America in the localization scene before Japan did, with the Zestiria on the PS4 and PC coming out overseas first before they got it in Japan. So I'm very happy to see that Bandai Namco is branching out to different platforms outside of just the Sony console. So that's nice to see for sure. But otherwise, I can't really see I'm pretty much just like I just want to see like a new Tales of game. I'm pretty sure everybody else wants to see it as
Yeah.
well.
hmm Yes, I very much agree too. Like, I really hope that it's a mothership title this festival, but at the same time, I won't be surprised if they announce another smartphone game or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Because here in Japan, smartphone games are very, very popular, and everyone's doing smartphone games. Because if we didn't, I wouldn't have a job right now, among other things. But yeah, basically, smartphone games are the thing right now. So who knows if they're gonna ride with what's popular, or finally give us the mothership title or game on the Switch, because Tales of Switch has been a thing for been teased for a while already. I remember it was last year. It was last year when they started teasing that, or wasn't it?
Yes, they teased it even before the console came out. It was in 2017 in January where they announced it as a part of like it was on the Japanese website. In other words, that the generic Tales of logo was listed there as a um, a potential title for the future. But at the same time, there were also some other titles that were announced around that time that still haven't come out. Like I'm still kind of waiting on Story of Seasons to get there, but that's a whole different topic altogether. But it just seems that some titles that were announced during that time frame for the Switch are taking their time. So yeah, but that's one thing that's definitely being teased for some time. And with regards to the mobile movement, there's just I understand its popularity in Japan, and considering how we're going into this topic right now, um,
Hmm?
definitely the worldwide versions of Tales of the Rays could have been handled better, especially considering how it was released at the same time that Link was still popular, and then Link suddenly closed. I kind of felt like there was a bit of a I don't know. I feel like it could have been handled a lot better, and I definitely know that a lot of the other like the fans overseas are feel very affected by it personally as fans because it kind of felt like it was like a loss of trust at the end of the day. But if they go with mobile, I've noticed that with the social media question that we posted for Tales of Speculations, they don't really want a mobile title and they want a legit mothership title to come out on the consoles. But while you were talking about the mothership titles to come out on the platform, something that sort of like crossed my mind, especially considering how you brought up the popularity of the mobile games, like what if they released the next mothership title on mobile?
Hmm. Given how powerful smartphones have been getting, I mean, I think it's possible, but probably we won't be getting like Berseria level graphics on the smartphone. But
Yeah.
it seems well possible, I guess. But it's also gonna be a little weird in that sense because it seems still better to have the mothership title and a more powerful console. I would say, given how much of a big deal it is. So I think the mobile platform might be better for like maybe ports or you know crossover titles, that sort of deal.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. Like their Bandai Namco's approach with the mobile games appeared to be similar to how they've handled the PSP, and they would always just experiment with the other platforms to see, oh, maybe this will work, or oh, maybe that will work. Like how they would throw in. Well, the DS experiment went well. We got two mothership titles there after whatever Tempest was, and still waiting on Tempest R. But also there's the 3DS where they didn't really dive too deep into that, where they only had Tales of the Abyss, and that got a localization because hey, the script was already there, and they only did Rive Unitia thereafter, which was even a port of the mobile game
hmm
where they only just like added one additional story. So that's my tie into the whole mobile movement thing because we did have motherships on the platform before, like not just Tales of Fantasia, and I'm pretty sure we all know how we felt about that port and its localization, but the The Tales of Hearts R was actually on phones as well, like on Apple devices. I think it was specifically just for Apple devices, if I recall correctly, because they did pull it eventually. Or no, is it still in there? I don't know. I haven't actually checked for some time, but um, generally speaking, like they've done so many experiments with the mobile platform. They've done Tales of Biblioteca, which they got rid of. They pulled the mobile game for that transferred to the 3DS. They just called it Tactics Union on the phones. I think they released around 2010, if I recall correctly. But then now that they've hit Tales of Link and they hit their stride, like they're definitely going forward with it. But I don't know if they would, yeah, just like how you're talking about, like I feel like the mobile games should just be relegated to just like the crossovers, while the main console games should have motherships at the end of the day.
Hmm. Hmm. I definitely agree on that. Like, I mean, it's not impossible, but at the same time, yeah, I would rather see one on the PC or on the PS4 sort of deal.
I kind of wonder, like, if maybe the reason why we haven't had an announcement yet is because Sony, we've heard the rumors about the PS5 being announced this year. Maybe Tales of might be doing a sort of little something for Sony as well to ensure that it is also developed for that platform. And maybe they were in the middle of it, but then Sony all of a sudden said, "Oh, we're making a new console. Please make it compatible with our system." And we know how much Tales of is pretty much tied to Sony at the end of the day. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's why we didn't get much of an announcement last year, but that's just like speculation at this point, especially considering the information that we know now about the PS5. Because I could see a, the next title, whether it's a port or if it's a mothership title, to be on the PlayStation 5 rather than the PS4, most likely.
Yeah, I think that's well, not impossible either. So hopefully, I mean that would be good news. I mean, if that was the case at the end of the day.
Yeah, either the PS4 or maybe they could do like a whole like because like Japan does this a lot too. They release Zesteria on the PS3 and PS4 because there's a
Hmm.
market for it, and then now I can see like maybe they could do that as well for the PS4 and PS5 most likely, unless Sony has them do the whole just make it for the PS5 and you could do it for the Switch too since you've already promised that. So or we might get an entirely different title for both platforms, which would be amazing considering how the series is currently quiet right now. But considering how it's been a year since we've last heard of any news, I'd like to at least get some form of announcement saying, "Oh, this is happening. Just don't worry, be patient."
Hmm. Hmm. That I think that would be like the best move they could make during festival, given all the hype about festival. So I mean, yeah, they should. I hope they make the most out of it.
Yeah, so with that said, with regards to the whatever else that could be covered in the event, they like we mentioned before, they have like a lot of merchandise that they're presenting at the event. Like I feel like it's a lot. They're shelling it out a lot more than usual with regards to the news, or maybe I just might be old and not catching up to it. But there's just quite a lot of them, and I think if I recall, you mentioned that there was like some more Vesperia dominant ones and some Legendia ones, if I recall correctly.
The Legendia ones are like part of the sets because there's a lot of Legendia guests along with the rest of the Tales of Festival guests, so they're getting merchandise. The Vesperia ones were I think early release goods, so they'll be available elsewhere after the festival. We just don't know when though.
Yeah, and if I recall, like they only had like the acrylic charms, but there's also like some. I think Mura covered it just about a week or so ago as well. Like there's some clear files, like the usual spiel that you see with regards to just general merchandise for the franchise, and um I guess like it seems that for the skits they'll probably be more so tackling like a sort of like sailor theme in a sense, so that'd be some fun for the cats to explore.
Hmm.
From the years that you've gone, which skit was probably the most memorable for you out of curiosity?
Hmm. Personally, I think it was maybe last year's, I guess, because they had some sort of sunscreen rangers skit thing.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I remember that. It was pretty fun because Aizen's voice actor, um he was like triple timing for three different roles.
Really?
Aizen, um I think he was Yuan briefly,
Oh,
and Dallas, but mostly he was switching between Aizen and Dallas because he was like the main antagonist for the skit. And there was a part he kind of messed up. I think he used his Dallas voice for Aizen, and it was kind of funny.
actually, I had no idea that I never actually looked into Brisaria's Japanese voice cast, but I legitimately had no idea until now that Aizen and Dao share the same voice actor, and Ewan's apparently, huh? So it does intrigue me that to see the voice actors perform on stage their characters, because I feel like that does offer a lot of fun and challenge with regards to voice acting in general. And the one who I've always referenced is Luke's Japanese voice actor, and how he would
Oh,
like
yes.
just on a whim switch from Luke to Ash just like that. Like it feels like he's already gotten it to the point where it's fully embodied in his performance, and it's such a pleasure seeing that even in his like small little ads for the merchandise and whatnot.
Yeah, Luke's voice actor is really great. I mean, I think he can really carry a crowd at this point because he kind of abuses the phrase, the Ottawa Watukune phrase. He
Yeah,
uses it a
yeah.
lot, but there's just, something in it like he asks the crowd to go Ottawa Watukune with him. They do it anyway. I do it too. Even though I'm sick of the phrase myself. But it's fun. I mean, it's fun, even though it kind of loses its meaning given how it's almost a cheer at this point rather than a line said in a very serious polarizing scene. But yeah. Yeah,
uh,
it's taken its own form or meaning at this point for the Tales of Fandom, I guess. But yeah, there's just something in the way he delivers it that makes you want to say it with him.
I guess it's like it's funny how things can become that organic, and it's cool that he's actually writing with it as well. Like you said, it is unfortunate that it kind of loses the meaning. Well, actually, it kind of goes in line with memeing because I feel like, for lack of a better term, like it does become a bit of a meme at this point, and it's just,
Actually, it
um,
it, it is practically a meme
yeah.
at this point. Yeah, and I think they even acknowledged it at one point in time that, hey, isn't that line supposed to be from a serious scene? But they're like, hey, yeah, whatever or something.
Yeah, yeah, it was supposed to be serious, but then the fandom came in. It's like
Yeah.
when the fandom nation attacks or something along those lines.
Not at all helped by, the voice actor encouraging it. So, but hey, I mean, as far as memes goes, it's not too bad. It's pretty. I find it kind of amusing in a morbid sense. So yeah.
It's not my fault. It's not. I kind of want to hear that in English now. Actually, that reminds me because like in during the Tales of Marathon stream I did 4 years ago, um I finished the narrative of Tales of the Abyss like in 3 days straight, and it for me I got very nitpicky with it. So I because I've noticed some things that were being repetitive, but that aside, I was kind of like I want to get this game done already, and then near the end we're just like at the point where we're at Luke and Ash, and they say this one particular line, and then we all just said it together, like in unison, and it actually ended up being surprisingly great. Out of, I'll definitely send you the link to that because I don't think I showed you that slip, but I've been meaning to show you that for some time. But it's just amusing, like how like performances, particular performances, can sort of like transform into that sort of like crowd gathering thing at the end of the day, and it's nice that like Luke's voice actor has been writing with that tenfold.
hmm I mean, at this point, it's practically his thing. I mean, when you see him on stage, it's practically, you'll have to expect it at one point. He'll ask the crowd, or he'll say it himself, that magical line slash cheer at this point. because it's like he's gonna say Ottawa, then the crowd's gonna go Wadukune! Yeah, so it's, yeah, basically that's what's happening nowadays.
That's hilarious. All right, so with that said, I think we've covered much about our speculations about Tales of Festival 2018. Unless there's anything else you want to add, Slip, out of curiosity.
Um, in terms of speculations, well, besides my eternal wish for an Abyss HD remake, not, but that's just personal bias at this point. I I'm hoping. Well, I'm hoping forever, but yeah, I guess we'll just see if it does ever happen.
Yeah, and I'm also on the boat for a Legendia remake, but a new Mothership title would be fine as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, with that said, do you have any plugs that you'd like to let everybody know about, like where they can follow you and whatnot?
Plugs, well, okay. I'm mostly on my Tumblr, at dimensionslip.tumblr.com. So I also have a Twitter, which I mostly just use to retweet things, but on occasion I do post some rambles there. And right, mm, I tend to hold sales posts every now and then. So if you want to check my Tumblr, I usually update on Sundays. So it's probably not gonna be Tales for this week, but it's likely after festival I might um sell some stuff, but I'll probably update not on Sunday because that's what they call this, a festival day.
Right, right.
So besides that, yeah, on Tumblr I post some translations or scanlations on occasion. If by chance you like them, and you just want to support me in some manner, I do have a Ko-fi. You can just I appreciate everything that goes my way in that regard. Or you can just, buy something off me. I mean, both are more or less on the same level for me. I greatly appreciate anything in that regard. So, but it's not super necessary. It's just optional. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, again, it's just up to discretion. I could tell you for sure that Slip has definitely helped some of the staff members with regards to obtaining some particular items. She helped me get some Kirby glasses from Japan for its anniversary, and I'm still overjoyed that you actually gave me those. So I thank you for that. And I've actually learned recently that you helped one of our other staff members, Flamzeron,
Yeah.
with regards to getting Tales of Eternia, like a legit Tales of Eternia online physical copy. And he told me that last week. I'm like, what? Like, huh? Like, it's still in box and sealed and everything. It's like, wow, that's a. If you want stuff from Japan, definitely give Slip a shout, and she can definitely rearrange things with you if you connect to her on her social media.
Hmm. Oh, I'd also like people to know that I'm organizing meetups again this year for Tales of Festival. So if you're around and you want to meet other English-speaking Tales of fans, please contact me on my Tumblr, Dimension Slip, and I'll add you to a line group where we're all coordinating about where we're gonna meet and stuff.
So with that in mind as well, for myself, you can follow me at PamBamRichard on Twitter, YouTube. Don't use Tumblr, or just keep following on Abyssal Chronicles for the latest in tales of news and features and whatnot. For the next podcast, we'll be recording 2 weeks from now for the Tales of Festival 2018 response. So not only will the main admin Abby be there as well, but so will our one of our correspondents Momo and Slip. You're attending there as well. That will be the case for the next episode. So until next time, thanks for tuning in and take care.